Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. Hope you guys are having a great Monday night. Just got done watching the Detroit Pistons play the Cleveland Cavaliers on this Monday evening. Before we jump into this podcast, I always ask you guys to do me a small favor. If you could, hit that like button. It does help out the YouTube algorithm, push out our Detroit Pistons content to you guys 6 to 7 days a week. Also, if you are an audio listener, make sure to give us a 5-star review wherever you do get your podcast. Any way you guys can support the podcast or the YouTube channel, I greatly appreciate it. But let's get into this post-game show with your Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, wasn't sure if Tobias Harris was going to start or not. The Pistons put out an injury report earlier, maybe like an hour before the game, that he was questionable with some like head traumatic. I don't know the exact medical term, but it was something like head traumatic something. I don't know. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but he did have like a really nasty elbow to the head by Paulo Banchero the last game against the Magic. He was good enough to play tonight, did not shoot the basketball well in this game, but got the start. In the first quarter, though, what I thought, the passing was really bad. Like, the way Cleveland defends, you feel like a passing lane is open, but the recovery is so fast to the point where, like, that passing lane gets closed very fast. And I think the Pistons, especially in the first quarter, tried to force passes where there just wasn't room to make a pass. And Cleveland did a really good job of just clogging those passing lanes. Too much isolation for my liking in the first quarter. There was no ball movement. The Pistons made it very easy for the Cavs to defend them in the first. Only bright spot I really put that on my notes was Cade Malik combined for 15 of the Pistons 23 points in the first quarter. Cavs have a 3-point lead, 26-23. Transitioning into the second quarter, what I thought right away, and I'm sure you guys could probably agree with me, is it really felt like Cade was hunting for his shot. It got to a point where it's just like it seemed forced, and he had a pretty bad shooting night against the Magic. Tonight he had another night where his percentages, if you look at the box score, if you watch the game, weren't the best. Not to the standard that we know where he can make shots. It just felt like he was forcing a little bit, pressing a little bit, but it wasn't just Cade. I mean, no one really outside of Malik and Cade scored in double figures. And then Pistons just couldn't hit shots. And, the Cavs couldn't hit shots either. This was a very ugly basketball game for, I would say, like a 3.5 quarters. You look at the percentages, like Pistons shot 37, 38% for the game. Cavs only shot 44%. So both of these teams were very tired. Both of these teams just could not hit threes whatsoever. It was weird. I've never seen a team like the Cavs struggle that much from the perimeter, and the Pistons as well. But I think what the Cavs did a really good job of was their dribble penetration, because what they did with, Darius Garland, Ty Jerome did, which was probably in their game plan, was they wanted to get Duren away from that basket, and that's exactly what they did. There was an instance where, Jared Allen made like 3 consecutive baskets, then Mobley got his touches. He got, some easy baskets in the painted area. Jared Allen had 10 points in the second quarter alone. And like Jared Allen is not known of an offensive player whatsoever. But their guards and their wings being able to get into that painted area, get Duren away from the rim, is what I thought got them a 10-point lead going into halftime, 55-45. To end that second quarter, I mean, JB has been on the ref's ass, I would say, the entire season, but I can't say I've ever seen him storm to a referee, to an official, like to end the second quarter to the point where he like yelled at all three of them. Um, I think there were instances tonight where Cleveland had the ability to be a little bit more physical than the Pistons did. Now, obviously, this wasn't a game where the free throw numbers were a big difference, but I thought the physicality in which Cleveland was able to play, a lot of hand checking from their guards, especially on Cade and on Tobias and others tonight, was allowed, but the Pistons really couldn't put a hand on Cleveland. The whistle was pretty biased, especially for it being a home game for the Cavs. But that's kind of what it is. Coming out of halftime, they were just flat. Couldn't hit a shot. Really struggled to get anything going, especially in the half court. I feel like when this team doesn't have running opportunities and they're forced to play in the half court, this team really struggles. It struggles to set up any sort of offense when Cade is not the initiator. And you have to tip your cap to Cleveland. The way that it defended Cade, I thought was very smart. They weren't doubling him, but they were switching bigger wings. They were switching Evan Mobley, Jared Allen on him, and he had a tough time, getting, layups, getting to the painted area. But, Cleveland's a very good team, you guys. Even though they were on a 3-game losing streak, I did not expect them to come out and not compete. They're a very well coached basketball team, and they're very talented, from their starters all the way to the bench. There's a reason why a lot of people are already circling them in to, possibly come out of the East as one of the better teams, make the Eastern Conference Finals, compete with Boston's, compete with the New Yorks, the Milwaukee's. But I felt like the energy that we came out with out of halftime was the first time where I'm like, you know what? Tonight's just not their night. I don't think they have it. I don't think they have enough to really get back into this game. And going into the fourth quarter, Cavs just dominated. They just took so many driving opportunities away. The way that they defend the restricted area, the paint, they force you to take tough jump shots. And I think that's what happened. The Pistons took Cade out at the 6:24 mark, saving him from Indiana on Wednesday. And at 3:22, JB decided he's going to play Paul Reed and Wendell Moore and give Ron Holland a little bit more burn. But that was basically the second half. Like I didn't feel like tonight was a night where they were able to come out and, try to chip away at a lead. It just seems like they were a little tired. And I know you guys have mentioned it, and I'm starting to agree with you. Like when we're on these long road trips, you should have played Paul Reed a lot sooner, Wendell Moore a lot sooner. Bobby Klittman, I mean, he was available to play. He was the only player actually that did not play tonight. JB played, everyone except for Bobby. I don't know if he doesn't feel like he's ready. I thought it was a good opportunity for him to get some clock since it was garbage time, but they didn't allow him to come and play tonight. Hopefully we do see Bobby get some time because he's been putting some pretty good games together down for the Motor City Cruise. Pistons do lose this one. Back-to-back games now, 110-91. They do play the Pacers, so they have an opportunity to get back into the win column. But overall, you guys, I thought this was going to be a very hard game to win. When your veterans like Tobias Harris only scored 2 points, you needed all your veterans to step up and contribute. Malik was probably the only veteran that stepped up. He was in double figures tonight, but overall, that's a very good Cleveland team. That's a team that has been to the playoffs, has its mix of veterans, has a brand new coach that's very offensive minded. But this was a good test, I think. This was a good test to see where the Detroit Pistons are at. We have the trading deadline coming up February 6th. It's the 27th of January as I'm recording this. So I think there is still a lot to be positive about, even though we are in a 2-game losing streak. I think what the Pistons do with the trading deadline will probably change our opinions of like how they attack it, what players they're looking to add, what positions they're looking to add. But, overall, this is still a competitive basketball team, 23-23 now. I do want to get into comments and questions. We're just going to take a quick break, and then after that, we'll open up the show for you guys if you want to, drop some questions, comments, trade deadline stuff, anything like that you guys want to talk about for the remainder of this podcast. We will do that, but we're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, you guys. Okay, you guys, we're back. We're going to get to your comments, questions, overall thoughts with this basketball game. I want to go to Dolly first. He has kind of like a venting comment saying frustrating first half. Duran running the break and throwing a lob out of bounds. Cade taking 4 shots lately, bringing his percentages down. Tobias getting abused down low. Paul Reed needs more minutes. I get it, man. That was a very frustrating game to watch if you're a Piston fan. The Durant play, I know what you're talking about. He took the ball up the court, and usually when players do that, it's a good indication of like how will they respond. And we didn't really see Durant bring the ball up the court too much after that. Obviously, you'd like to see Cade bring the ball up the court, but I mean, I'm not really going to get on Durant's ass too much for one bad possession. I think overall he had a pretty decent game. It's just Cleveland did a very good job of getting him away from the rim. And I think that was their game plan. Cade taking 4 shots, I felt like he did press a little bit in the second quarter. But it just kind of shows you like the Pistons need a secondary option. And this is where they miss Jaden Ivey. Because Jaden Ivey could be that secondary option. Jaden Ivey could be that guy to take stress off of Cade Cunningham, but you don't have that right now. Your second option in the starting lineup, I would say, is Tim and Tobias. And at times, Tim can be that guy, but he does have his limitations. Same with Tobias. Only getting 2 points from Tobias tonight, it's not good. Paul Reed does need more minutes. I do agree with you, Dolly. I would have loved to see him, a little bit earlier than the fourth quarter. I thought, there was room for him in the second, third quarter, in my personal opinion. But I'm not a coach. I know that's easier said than done. But, overall, that's the best team in the Eastern Conference. Like a lot of teams struggle against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I have a question, or more of a comment, I should say, from Bayern. They should play more defense to get to the fast break. They can't lean on half-court offense besides another ball handler. They also need a power forward like Bobby Portis. Tobias is too small to guard Siakam. Mobley. Okay, lots to unpack here. Yeah, playing defense can get you fast break points, Bayern. I do agree with that. The half-court thing I did mention. I think this team is better when they run in transition. Getting another ball handler, I think, is something that Trajan and the Pistons will try to look to address at the deadline. Another power forward like Bobby Portis, me and Corey Woods talked about that yesterday. If you guys didn't catch that podcast, definitely do check it out. We talked about Bobby Portis as a possible fit with the Detroit Pistons. Stretch 4 can play some defense. Tobias does what he can. I know they ask a lot out of him, but you know, Pascal Siakam's, Evan Mobley's, like those types of archetypes of players are very hard to stop, especially um, when you're asking Tobias to guard a stretch five center like an Evan Mobley that's very long and lengthy. Um, it's going to be a tall task. Not to say that Duran couldn't do it. It's just the way that the Pistons were defending Mobley. It seemed like every time they would switch with Tobias versus Duran, because I think they wanted Duran a little bit closer to the rim. But I do agree with you. I think our front court could use an upgrade, could use, more pieces to it. But overall, I'm not going to harp on this team too much. I felt like they just been on a long road trip. That's the best team in the Eastern Conference. And you got to go play one of the other great teams in the Eastern Conference, Indiana Pacers. Chuck has a comment: to compete versus the Cavs, we will need another four who can bang and definitely stretch out and give us spacing on offense, a game to learn from. I do agree. I think that's why Bayan mentioned Bobby Portis. It really depends. I mean, like, who knows what Nikola Vucevic's asking prices. That's another stretch big. There's a lot of names out there. I think we'll start hearing and listening to all these reporters talk about the trade deadline. I mean, I feel like we're still very, very early in these like rumors, like only the 27th of January. But Cavs are a team that I think a lot of Eastern Conference teams struggle with. Their size, their guards, their wings. I mean, they were without Karis LeVert and Isaac Okoro. I mean, those are two more small forwards that can defend and shoot. Like Cleveland has a championship caliber roster, in my personal opinion. TZ, why didn't Asar help? Oh, Asar, I would say this. He tried to help. It's just the way Cleveland closes out, especially around the rim. Asar had a very difficult time getting baskets and points tonight. And that's a strength of Cleveland's. Their ability to just really collapse and put 2 to 3 defenders when you're around the rim. And that's where Asar likes to, score. He likes scoring around the basket. He likes, cutting. Cleveland took a lot of those opportunities away for Asar tonight. If you guys did watch the game, and I expect Asar to bounce back against the Pacers, because the Pacers aren't as stacked as Cleveland is. But I think that's the main reason why, if you just look at the box score and you see that Asar struggled and like, why didn't he help? He was trying. It's just Cleveland did a really good job of just, protecting the painted area and the rim. Richard Weaver: we lost against the best team in the East. Haven't got blown out in a while. We need more shot creation that doesn't have Cade involved. Lonzo, CJ McCollum, Brogdon, Jordan Poole are my targets. Appreciate the comment, Richard. We talked about Lonzo Ball a couple of days ago. There's actually just a report tonight from Evan Sedry from Forbes Sports that the Pistons, among other teams, are actually interested in trading for Lonzo Ball. CJ McCollum, I think I wouldn't rule it out because of the relationship with Trajan Langdon and other front office executives that came from New Orleans. Kind of depends what the Pelicans want to do. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, is another great name drop. Don't know what Washington would want for him. I'm assuming some maybe cap relief, some draft capital, I would assume. And Jordan Poole, another Washington guard, I think he would be a little bit pricey as well. I don't think Washington would really want to sell off on Jordan Poole unless they get an offer they feel like they really can't turn down. But I think Jordan Poole's having a really good season. Not a lot of people have been talking about Jordan Poole, probably because Washington is on kind of like that tank commander for Cooper Flagg right now and Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. But I like Jordan Poole. CJ, I think is kind of in the same tier of Jordan Poole, where you're probably going to have to give up a young piece, some draft capital, maybe an expiring to kind of make the money work, and for those teams in New Orleans and Washington to be happy with that trade. I think Brogdon and Lonzo, to me, I think are a little bit more realistic, a tier below. Not to say that the Pistons couldn't go out and get a McCollum or Jordan Poole. I'm sure they could if they really wanted to, but kind of makes me think like what Washington or New Orleans would want for two of those shooting guards that can score at all three levels and kind of take stress off of Cade Cunningham, like you had mentioned, getting more of a shot creator next to him. And you can really tell, like, the more Cade has these games where he's scoring 30 plus points, a lot of these teams are game planning for him. Cleveland just so happens to be a very deep team that doesn't have to double, and they can just switch their bigger wings and centers onto him. And, Ty Jerome did a pretty good job of guarding Cade tonight, even though he was hacking him like crazy. Teams are game planning for Cade and trying to get physical with him and to bother his shots. And he did not have his best shooting night, but I do think that this front office will definitely look to get him, more help overall. Another comment from Richard Weaver: as long as we can avoid Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Boston, we'll be fine in the playoffs. I think so too. When you look at Cleveland, like you don't want to like have that 8 seed, because you're going to have to play a play-in game. And then after that, you'd have to, the first the Cavs. Don't want that. 7 seed, you probably don't want that, because then you have to play the Celtics, and the Celtics have our number. I think if you're the Pistons, you want to kind of finish in anywhere between like that 6 and possibly 5 seed. So you could avoid 3 of those powerhouses. But, at the end of the day, this team has to go out and compete and win as many basketball games as they can. I think we're 45, 46 games in, and this is a playoff team. This is a much improved basketball team from last year. But, overall, really like but what I've been seeing from these guys. It's just they've been on a long road trip. It's one of the best teams in the NBA in Cleveland, and you have the Pacers this week. You have the Mavericks, who I think you could probably get a win from the Mavericks. They're just getting the injury bug as of late. Derek Lively went down. I can't remember, someone else on their team I just saw went down as well. And then you got the Chicago Bulls, who, even though the Bulls did beat us, they're the 10 seed. I think they're a beatable team. So I think you can come out this week either 3-1, 2-2, personally, and be okay in the standings overall. But I don't want to come up here and say like the sky's falling because we lost the Cavs and we're back to 500 basketball. This is still a very good team, but I'm probably gonna wrap up this podcast, you guys. My mouth is killing me right now. I have a really sore toothache. My wisdom teeth are trying to come in right now, so my jaw is like on fire, and like anything I eat just hurts my mouth. I'm gonna probably have to go to the dentist, but I'll see you guys later this week. We'll do a post-game podcast immediately after the Detroit Pistons play the Indiana Pacers. But hope you guys have a great night. Talk to you later. Peace. Go Pistons.